Okay, well, welcome everybody. Lovely to see you again. And just a change of program today. I'm just saying hello to everybody. I don't know if I can see everyone here, but Barney, we see you. Oh, he can't hear me, I guess. Yes, he can.
Right.
Yes, he could. Yes, that you can see. Okay, welcome everybody. Going to change the format a little bit. So we're going to start immediately with Trish. And we'll go with the flow after that. We're not going to have a full meditation with the video, but you'll see how it goes. Let's just all go with the flow.
Welcome, everybody. You remember that last time I spoke about the beginning of the Our Father, Abun de Boashem Maya. Abun means father, mother, you will remember. And in the Boashem Maya, the most important part is Shem, which means vibration or light or name or energy. It means all those relation. And Shem comes a number of times in other parts of the Our Father. And so before we go on any further, I've asked EJ to show you two lovely things from that one can look up on the internet, where it talks about energy in the universe, energy or radiation or vibration, especially the vibration, which is in the whole universe. And we found some pictures and a little bit of saying there that I would like EJ to show you and to read, as this is our meditation as we move into the rest of the Our Father, and it's particularly on the vibration from God, who is the source of all energy and all vibration and all radiation and of everything that exists. But it's interesting to see how everything in the universe is in vibration. So will you show them those pictures and read them? And this is our meditation for the beginning, please.
Every single thing in the universe is vibrating at a particular frequency. Your thoughts and feelings, including everything in your subconscious, are transmitting a particular vibration out into the universe. And those vibrations shape the life you are living. This is simply how the universe works. Everything in the universe is made up of energy vibrating at different frequencies. Each of these levels has a vibrational frequency which combine to create your overall vibration of being. All vibrations operate at high and low frequencies within us and around us.
Let us just sit for a minute and think about that everything in the universe is made up of vibrating energy, which comes from God, who is the source of all energy, all life, and all vibration. Just for a minute, let's think about that. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? And will you, yes, take the picture off now. I'm going to go on with the Our Father, and you were able, I sent it to Celia, and I asked her to send it out. So I'm sure if you wanted to, you were able to download the Our Father translated from Jesus' own language, the Aramaic. And as I was pointing out, the word Shem, vibration, is very important in the Our Father, even in the beginning. It also means name. And it's a pity that when it was translated into Koine Greek, they took the word name, and we say, hallowed be your name. And we lose the sense of the vibration and the energy in that. So, and the ayah, abun de Shem maya. The Shem is the vibration, the energy, and the ayah is the energy radiating throughout the universe. And we lose that completely when we say, hallowed be your name. So to go back to the original Aramaic is much richer. And I want to go on from the beginning, the Abun de Shem Maya, to the next bit. And if you have the notes, you will see that the next little bit, this net, it's what I've just been saying, we've translated as hallowed be your name. But because that word name actually meant the energy of your own inner being, of your spirit, of who you are, we've lost that. We think that a name is a kind of a label. That's how we know that person. And we've lost the whole idea of the energy and the vibration. The next little bit, after Abun de Shem Maya, which is the Father, Mother, you whose energy vibrates throughout the universe, the next bit is Net Kadash Shemak. Now again, there's a Shem, Shemak, and they often left out the vowels. So Shem is, we write it as S-H-E-M, but they often just had what we would call S-H-M. Now that Net Kadash, that net is, the beginning of that word is, may something be held, be seen as, be regarded as. And Kadash is holy. And then comes the word Shemak. Shemak is Shem again. So it is, may that vibration that comes from you be held holy. May we hold it as holy. That vibration, that name, as the Greeks translated it, may we hold it within ourselves as holy. And Neil Douglas-Klotz translates it as, let me be a resonant space for your vibrations. Let your vibrations vibrate through me. Vibrations, and to have vibrations moving, you need space, like the inside of a guitar or a violin. They will only vibrate if there is space inside. And there needs to be space in us. We need to empty ourselves, open ourselves, and be empty so that God's vibrations can vibrate, can resonate within us. Because that word that are translated there, that Shem, can also mean name. It can also mean light. So although this is beautiful, it can be quite puzzling to get very different translations, because another translation of the same thing, of hallowed be your name, is focus your light within us. So that's really sounds different. Or make me a resonant space for your vibrations. That's the one I like, which is the closest to the original meaning. But one gets 3 or 4 or 5 different, more or less correct translations of this hallowed be your name. So it's the Shem again. May your Shem resonate within me. May your energy, your divine energy, resonate within me. And for that, I need to make space within myself. So that's hallowed be your name. Then comes your kingdom come, as we know it. And the words, if you've got the notes, the words there in Aramaic are Tete Malkuta. And I've heard this sung beautifully, where they repeat over and over, Tete Malkuta, Tete Malkuta, Tete, Tete, Tete Malkuta. Now, te by itself means come. And if you want someone to come urgently, come quickly, quickly, the kettle's boiling or the child is falling or something, then you repeated it. You didn't just say te, you said tete. So tete is an urgent request that someone or something should come. And the thing that must come is malkuta. Now, it's been translated as your kingdom, but it actually means, if you see there, that it was the name of the great mother god in Egypt centuries before the time of Jesus. And it's a feminine word. It was the mother, the feminine god. And we want this god, in our sense, the ruling principles of our life, which the Greeks translated as kingdom. May your kingdom come. But it is all the things, the principles that guide my life and yours, and that guided the life of Jesus. Now, they didn't know how to translate that Malkuta, so they wrote your kingdom come. And we can see why they took that as the translation. But the word is not really kingdom. It is, may the ruling principles that you want to guide my life, may they come, and may they come urgently. Te, not just one te, but come inside me, inside us. Then the next little bit is quite hard to read for us, because we have English as our mother tongue, English or French or whatever, but we find this rather difficult to read. However, it's important. In English, we say, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And in Aramaic, it's newe, trev yanach, aikana, debwashem maya, the same word as we had in the beginning, af barha. Now that's the neve is your, and trev is your heart's desire. It is your will. You can translate it as your will, but it's what your heart really longs for, your heart's desire. Na is just as. So may your heart's desire, Arfatha is be done, may it come about. And then we get the same word as we had in the very beginning of the Our Father, that Debwashemaya, which is, may your energy, may your heart's desire come out in the energy that radiates from you into the whole universe, not just the world, but the universe, the expanding universe. As we know now, the universe is ever expanding through this vibrating energy of God. And so to say your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, the Arha is earth and Af is heaven, not really heaven. It's the cosmos. It's the universe. So it's, may your heart's desire go out into the whole universe, radiating out. Let it be done on earth as it is in the whole universe. Then we come to the next little bit. that was, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And Neil translates it as, may your heart's desire for unity and harmony penetrate or radiate or vibrate into every part of the cosmos, just as it does on earth. Then comes the part that we translate as, give us this day our daily bread. And the most important word there is lachma. Lachma does mean bread, but it also means wisdom. And we lose that in our translation. The Greeks have their language is much more exact, and each word means something particular and not 2 or 3 or 4 other things. But it's very rich to realize that we are praying not only for the food that we need for our bodies, but we are praying for the wisdom, the insight that we need each day for our minds and hearts and souls. So lachma there, that prayer, havlan lachma, desun kanan yeo mana. And we translate it as, give us this day our daily bread, but we leave out the wisdom. And it's actually, lachma, give us today the bread we need for our bodies, the food, and give us the wisdom we need to follow your heart's desire, to take the next step. Then comes the next bit, which we translate as, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. There the translation is quite close. That wash bochlan at the beginning is forgive. And kalbain are debts. Aikana is just as, we've had that word before. Just as we, now a better translation, you'll see is at the end, is loosen the cords of the mistakes or sins binding us, just as we release the strands, the ropes, the cords we hold of others' guilt. We must let go of the pain and the hurts and the guilt that we hold against other people, and we ask that God lets go of the mistakes, the cords that bind us as well. Then the next little bit, which is also fairly close, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. However, this one is the one that gives most people the most trouble, because they say, how could God lead us into temptation? Why must we pray that God should not lead us into temptation? And the translation, the actual original, is not lead us into temptation. As I wrote there, this line is probably the least understood, and because of the Greek translation, it's the most mistranslated line. No one would lead us into temptation, least of all God. Well, perhaps there are some people who might, but God would not. And what it really means is this wela tachlan nesyuna. It's don't let us be seduced by the appearance of things. Don't let us be misled by the fact that something looks attractive. It's nothing to do with God leading us into temptation. That nesyuna is something that leads us to inner vacillation or agitation, and it diverts us from the purpose of our lives. So the prayer is not lead us not into temptation, but don't let us be led astray. Don't let us go off the path, which is aiming at the purpose of our lives. Don't let us, another one is, don't let us enter forgetfulness. Don't let us go in the temptation, follow the temptation of false appearances. That's what that is. It's not that God must not lead us into temptation, but we are so often misled by the appearance of something. And we get seduced, we get pulled aside away from the purpose of our lives. And then the last little bit is, but deliver us from evil. And that Elah Patsan Min Bishar. Patsan is free us, the Elah is but free us, Min Bishar. Bishar can be evil, but it's often evil in the sense of not being mature, not being ripe. Deliver us from that, free us from that unripeness, from evil. The evil in the sense, as I tell you there, of unripeness or inappropriate action. And one translation is, keep us from hoarding false wealth. Not so much in the sense of money, but perhaps that too, if your whole life is just bent on making money. But keep us from hoarding false wealth, something that doesn't really enrich us. And from the shame of help not given in time, that we don't help those who need it because we just don't do it and could. And at the end, the word Amen, we say Amen. The word is Amen. And I have not put in that little bit, for yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Because that is not in the part that Jesus gave us. That was added on later. And I'm just taking the part from the Aramaic that Jesus gave us. And we find this in Luke's Gospel and in Matthew's Gospel. And they added on that last part later, probably in the 3rd or 4th century, it was added. So in the original, it ends with this, but free us from being unripe, from being sidetracked, and then from being unripe, and Amen at the end of it. I've done it very quickly to get through it, but that is basically what the Our Father is. So we do get various translations that are fairly different from one another, because that word Shem, for example, like most words in the Aramaic, has about 5 different meanings. But the main one is that energy, that vibration that radiates out into the cosmos. And God is the source of all energy, all vibration, and everything that exists, everything that lives, vibrates. We can feel it ourselves, mostly in our heartbeat and in our breathing. But actually, every cell of our body is vibrating, maybe just a little, but vibrating, and that is while we are alive. Life is vibration and energy that comes from God. So that is my rather short and quick introduction to the Aramaic Our Father as Jesus meant it. The Greeks translated it very, very early, and that's the one that we all use, the Greek translation, which actually misses quite a lot if one goes back to the Aramaic. If anybody has any comments or questions, then I'll be happy to try to answer them. So you'll need to unmute people if they show they want to ask something, please, EJ. Okay.
There we go. I think I've unmuted everyone now. Or maybe, if you would like to comment, put up your hands and then I'll just make sure that you're unmuted.
Otherwise, you can play for them the song Our Father at the end, but just see if there is anyone who does have a question or a comment.
Bonnie, did you have a question?
No, I didn't put my hand. No,
Oh, sorry, it just
I'm
went-
sorry, I was late. My internet was off. Sorry, I
Oh,
didn't have a question.
no problem. Trish, I just have a question for you. Where did we derive the Aramaic translation from?
I said that at the beginning of last time, from the Peshitta. The
Yes.
Peshitta is the Aramaic version of the scriptures, and as far as we know, certainly the first three and probably all four, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all actually wrote in Aramaic. Jesus spoke Aramaic, he didn't speak Greek, and they wrote it in Aramaic. But because there were only certain tribes that spoke the Aramaic, they wanted to spread the gospel, bring the good news into the whole world. They took the language that most people spoke, which was a simplified form of Greek called Koine Greek. And very, very early, in the first, second centuries, they translated what they'd written in Aramaic, they translated into Greek. There are people who say that John's gospel was originally written in Greek, but as far as I've been able to find out, that is not the case. Even John wrote it originally in Aramaic, and his gospel was translated quite quickly into the Koine Greek. And in Greek, because one word has one meaning, they're much clearer. They found it very difficult to catch all the meanings there are in the Aramaic. But one can find that in the Bible called the Peshitta, and there was a page on that I gave out as among the notes, and that Aramaic version of the Bible is the one that is used in countries like Syria, Iraq, Iran, so on. They don't use our translation, and they really have a different idea of what Jesus said. I think you all know that I lived in Germany for many years before I came back to South Africa, and I met a Syrian family that came to Germany. Many of the Germans are not too happy about the Syrians and the Iraqis and so on that come into Germany. Anyway, that family, I found out, have as their mother tongue Aramaic, Syrian Aramaic, which is fairly similar. They said when they read the Peshitta, they said they have no problem understanding that. So I asked them for a few words. I asked them, for example, what is the word in Aramaic for spirit or breath? They're both the same word. And I said to them, now in Hebrew, the word is ruach, and Aramaic is related to Hebrew. It's somewhat similar. So I thought the word was ruha. In our alphabet, we write it as R-U-H-A. And it's either breath or spirit, which tells you that our breath, our spirit is filled with the Holy Spirit. The lovely idea as we prepare for Pentecost. Anyway, I asked them, is the word for breath or spirit ruha? And they said, no, it's ruha. Ruha. They just breathe the HA. They don't say it. They don't voice it. And they were quite shocked that the way I pronounced it. So I asked them quite a lot of words and quite a lot about this translation, because they have Aramaic as their mother tongue. And some of what I've written down here on the pages that I handed out came from those people who follow the Christian Bible, but as they call it, the Peshitta. It's the Aramaic original version, and that's what they work with. So quite a lot of what I've got here comes also from them.
I was just wondering, I would like to, would it be okay if I read the entire translation, just for us to get a sense Of
Yes, one of them. It's one translation. That because the words can have 4 or 5 different meanings, some of the translations sound very different from others.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, take one and read one. Good.
So this is the one that we normally use at church. In Diane's,
You mean at Diane's Mass?
Diane's Mass, yes.
Yes, okay.
So it says, Father, Mother, source of all that is, your vibrations radiate throughout the cosmos. Make me a resonant space for your vibrations. May your sphere of influence come. May your heart's desire for unity and harmony penetrate every part of the universe as it does on earth. Give us what we need each day in bread and insight. Loosen the cords of mistakes and sins that bind us as we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. Let us not be deluded by surface things, but free us from what holds us back from our true purpose.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I quite like that translation. There are quite a number in the books of Neil Douglas-Klotz. There are 4 or 5 or 6 different translations, and they all are possible translations, which does make it a bit confusing for people. But thank you, EJ, yes.
I see we've got a comment here from Surin. He says that the concept of Maya in the East is the notion of earthly temptation which we should avoid because desire begets suffering, etc. The original sounds closer to that conception regarding temptation.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you for sending that in.
Yeah, I like that comment because I've been watching this series on Netflix called Buddha, and it's all about the life of the Buddha. But this beautiful depiction where the Buddha is about to reach enlightenment, and then the figure of Maya comes to tempt him.
That's right.
So
the Maya always has something to do with being pulled away from your true purpose, being deluded. Yes.
Okay, so Celia also wants to say something there. Let me just unmute her.
Okay, and then I see Barney also. Barney, would you like to go first, or shall I go ahead?
Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay, let me go ahead. This idea of vibration and the energy, and I almost want to use the word electricity, but maybe that's not quite the same word. But I don't know if there are any scientists in the group here. Jimmy, I think we could count you a bit of a scientist, a philosophical scientist, or a scientific philosopher. Anyway.
I'd be happy to comment.
Sorry?
I'd be happy to comment.
Okay, yes, I'd love to hear Jimmy, perhaps after Barney, because I jumped in before Barney. I was looking at Swedenborg last evening. I don't know if any of you have come across Swedenborg.
Yes.
Have a few of you come across Swedenborg?
Fascinating character, yes.
Yeah, so you know his incredible learning in his life, and then his forays into the afterlife after that powerful mystical experience with an encounter with Jesus. But as I watched it, and as the commentator was speaking about the different levels of the afterlife in terms of energy and vibration, and a lot of what he said, we may dispute Swedenborg, we may not believe him, or we may think it's a bit of an illusion, but his writings are quite magnificent. And he uses, the commentator is using the describing, sorry, I've got an echo, sorry. The work of Swedenborg is all about vibration. So in the afterlife, you know, what we would say after death, it's all about, as we vibrate, we are drawn to different vibratory experiences and people. And it's all about being in tune with a certain vibration. So this particular video was showing in a clip how we are drawn maybe to certain groups and we don't feel drawn to other groups because of the vibration. But that's only one aspect. Obviously, I won't go into all of it now, but I was quite fascinated because linking up with Trish just now with what you're saying about, you know, having that inner space and having that vibration flow through us. In the end, the discussion on Swedenborg also came back to the inner vibration of what he would call the spiritual body, the essence of our beings, which makes us who we are. So that led me to think a little bit more, maybe Barney could help us here a little bit more as well. When Paul speaks about the spiritual body, the resurrection body, and that made me think, Suren, of all the different bodies in Hinduism. Is it the kasha? What is the word? Yeah. Anyway.
It's the subtle body. I don't know what
the
the
subtle
Sanskrit is.
body, and also the levels of this. And in Swedenborg,
Koshas, there are 5 different levels.
The koshas. That's what I was thinking. So all of this made me very excited. And when I chatted to Trish this morning about some recent, you know, work she's been doing on vibration, and I've also started moving more and more into vibration and energy. And so we need a little bit of scientific input here from our philosopher scientists. But should we let Barney go first and then come back to Jimmy? Is that okay? And so thanks for that, Trish. I think it's led to a whole lot of questions.
Just
Barney, maybe Barney,
please. Can you spell Swedenborg?
Yes, it's SWENDENBORG.
Swedenborg.
Swedenborg. Is that the right spelling? I haven't got it in front of me. Swedenborg.
It's Sweden
Then
with
it's SWEDEN.
I joined the Swedenborg Society. There's a place in London where I used to stay. And there's also many different types of Swedenborgian philosophy.
Oh, there it is. Swedenborg. Swedenborg. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. Good.
First name, what's his first name, Celia? Swedenborg.
What's his first name, Jimmy?
I forget offhand. Emmanuel, if I remember correctly.
Emmanuel. Yeah.
Emmanuel, you're right. It's Emmanuel. And one last thought before we go to Jimmy and to Barney and Jimmy. There's a site on YouTube called Off the Left Eye. And I always used to wonder, why is it called Off the Left Eye? And I haven't read all of Swedenborg's works. I've only tapped into them. They are enormous compilation of works. But during the video, the commentator told us about in Swedenborg's mystical experiences. The one was where the veil was lifted from his left eye. And then he began to see all these various visions and experiences. But coming back to what you were talking about, Trish, all about vibration. And anyway, so all of that was most interesting. Sorry, I've gone on a bit too long as usual. Should we go to Barney, because you were before me or after?
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Good
I'd like to
afternoon,
go
Barney.
like to go back into the vibration thing and to the guitar and the fiddle. I'd rather have a fiddle than a violin. And the thing, of course, is what you talked about, the space, is the sound box. That's where
right.
it comes from, the sound box. Now, this is where I make the link. The sound box is a witness. This is our vocation, really, to witness to what we have picked up from the Lord, his vibrations, put it that way.
That's lovely.
The space and really is our Christian vocation, is to witness to the sound, to the vibration that we have picked up from Jesus. Now, I'm not sure what word Jesus used for the kingdom in all his parables. Was it the same word that he uses in the Our Father? I presume it is.
I would have to look that up. I haven't done the parables in Aramaic, so I could look that up, Bonnie.
But what I'm thinking there is, because we're coming up to Pentecost, of this whole question of the charisms, the gifts of the Spirit, and people vibrate, as you say, particular charism. We call it, instead of vibration, let's call it a charism. Like, to go back to Celia, that attracts people. And people are attracted by a particular charism, and that's where we got the congregations from. Not just the gifts of the Spirit that the charismatics talk about, that attraction that people buy into. They vibrate along with somebody else's vibration that way. And it all links up in a sense with our Christian experience, really, using the old terminology, but using your kind of modern scientific thing that we can easily accept the vibrations in the universe, but it's the same thing. We go along with, we resonate with. To go back to, we resonate, and we can get it back out again to others. That's my little comment. Thank you.
Thank you. That's lovely. I love your sound box. That's exactly the right. Yes.
Going to come in, Jimmy.
Thanks, Celia. Perhaps I could start with a little bit of a caution, which is to say that when we spiritual types start talking about energy, most of the scientists head for the door and some of them reach for their gun.
Oh.
And so the caution is
why?
Well, I'm about to explain that in a moment. And it's because the word energy is used very differently in science than it is in psychology or spirituality. And one way to maybe understand that, and this will help us in our dialogue with science, is precisely the point that Celia made about the different levels and that Surin was describing as the koshas. Kosha means sheath in both the Hindu and Buddhist traditions, and these are thought of as levels or layers of bodies which start at the gross physical level and then get more and more subtle as we progress. Now, the weakness is that they tend to say there's only one level, and that is the physical level, which we can investigate with our scientific instruments. And they are not that open, although it is starting to change, to these more subtle energies that we are as yet unable to detect with our physical instruments. And so, as spiritual people, we should want to take a little bit of care in our conversations with scientists to make it clear that we are not talking about the physical energies that are measured in physical thermodynamic terms. And I particularly like the point about musical vibrations, because the the musical vibration, while it is physical, is experienced by us physically in our bodies, but at a subtle emotional level. And in the Buddhist and the Hindu tradition, the emotional sheath, the emotional body, would be a different level to the physical, biological level. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely scope for an understanding of energy and vibration. But as I say, my caution is just that we should be very careful in our conversations with scientists to be clear as to what it is that we are talking about.
Thank you. That's helpful.
And just in terms of the question about kingdom, from what I remember from my Hebrew studies, the word for kingdom in Hebrew is malku.
Yes, but that isn't the word that is used here in the Our Father. They translated it as kingdom, but the Aramaic word was actually what more your sphere of influence, and it wasn't kingdom. That was just the Greeks who decided to translate it as kingdom.
Okay. So anything from anyone else?
Well, then you can, if you would play the sung Our Father, where the people are in a circle, is that the one you're going to play?
Yes.
Where they sing the Our Father in Aramaic, and they do a kind of a dance to it with Neil Douglas-Klotz.
Okay, I'll play that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, let me just share the screen.
Avundvashmaya, Nikai Shmach, Tete Mamuta, Nekwe Sivyana Aikana, Nivashmaya Afvarha, Havalam Atman Visun Kanan Yamana, Washkukan Kavein Waktahain, Aikana Dafkanan Shokan Harein, Wela Tatlan Lenisuna, Ela Patsan Min Bisha, Netul Delahai Malkuta, Wahaya Vatesh Bukta, Walam Amin, Amin. Avun Deva Shemaya, 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 Allah
much, Celia, for your introduction and your comments, and also to the other people who made comments. I found them very helpful. I don't know Swedenborg, and I'm going to look him up. Thank you. So it was very good to be with you again today. I went rather fast because I was afraid that I wasn't going to get through it, but most of you do have the notes and you can look at the notes as well. So thank you so much, everybody.
So maybe before you go, Patricia, what I can also mention is that next week we are having a lady called Vilna, who will be talking to us about sound healing and sound therapy. So she will link quite nicely with, you know, what...
With the vibrations. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. That's lovely.
Thank you.
Good. Will that be next week on Wednesday at 3 o'clock?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
It's slightly different in the sense that it's just a week away, but fortunately with EJ's help, we've got the notice ready and the link for Zoom. But after that, we'll go back to having it a 2-weekly interval. Those who are not part of the Mystics group in Pretoria, we usually meet once a month. But I think if you're all happy with every 2 weeks, that sounds fine. There are a lot of interesting people. And I'd like to say a special word again to you, Trish. Thanks so much. And it's so rich, and we've got notes. We can take them slowly and quietly, and maybe even come back to them later, because I think we might be zooming in and out quite a lot in the next few months. I can't see. Yeah, we won't get back to the old normal. Not that anybody wants to get back to the old normal in general. So we'll see what happens in the next 6 months or so. But thanks a lot, and look forward to seeing everybody then again next week. And also thanks a trillion to EJ for everything.
Yes.